You're not even aware it's happening. One moment your hands are in your lap, the next, your fingers are already in your mouth. And the strange part, you didn't decide to do it. Most people call it a bad habit. Psychology calls it something far more revealing. Because nail biting isn't about your nails at all. It's about what's happening inside. A mind that never learned how to sit still with discomfort. 1. Your body is processing what your mind won't. Psychology says the body keeps the score. When the mind encounters tension, it can't verbally process anxiety, frustration, uncertainty. It doesn't disappear. It migrates. It finds the nearest physical exit and escapes through it. For nail biters, the hands become that exit. The clinical term is body-focused, repetitive behavior, BRFEAB. The body isn't malfunctioning, it's compensating. It's doing the emotional labor the conscious mind is refusing to do. The consequence is this. Every time the body steps in to manage what the mind won't face, the mind gets weaker at facing it. The escape route becomes the only route. 2. It's not weakness. It's perfectionism in disguise. Here's what nobody tells you. Research published in the Journal of Behavior Therapy found that nail biters are significantly more likely to be perfectionists, not lazy people, not weak people, people with standards so high that the gap between reality and expectation lives in their body as constant physical tension. The perfectionist mind is never fully at rest. It is always scanning for what's wrong, what's missing, what's not yet good enough. That relentless internal scanning creates a low hum of agitation that never fully quiets. And the body needs somewhere to put it. The dark irony is this. The very people most judged for nail biting are often the ones holding themselves to the highest internal standards. The habit isn't a sign of not caring. It's a sign of caring far too much. 3. The autopilot problem. In reality, most nail biters don't bite. They find themselves having bitten. The behavior lives below the threshold of conscious awareness, running on what neuroscientists call the brain's default mode. By the time the conscious mind notices, the habit is already 3 minutes in. This is why telling a nail biter to just stop is psychologically useless advice. You cannot willpower your way out of a behavior you aren't conscious of starting. The mind resists what it cannot first observe. The consequence is a vicious loop. The person tries to stop, fails because they didn't catch the urge in time, feels shame, and that shame generates exactly the kind of tension that triggers the next biting episode. 4. Boredom is not laziness, it's starvation. Psychology says boredom is not the absence of things to do. It is the absence of sufficient stimulation for the kind of mind you have. Nail biting spikes dramatically during low stimulation moments, waiting, watching, commuting, because the brain is not idle. It is hungry. Studies suggest nail biters tend to have faster, more reactive cognitive styles, minds that process and exhaust their environment quickly. When external input runs dry, the nervous system turns inward and the body becomes the stimulus. The consequence is that the habit intensifies precisely in the moments that should be restful. Relaxation becomes the trigger. Rest becomes the enemy. 5. The childhood blueprint. The mind doesn't invent its coping tools in adulthood. It inherits them. For most nail biters, the behavior began in childhood and environments where stress was present but emotional guidance was not. The child felt something they had no language for, and the body answered. Psychologists call this the failure of emotional literacy. Growing up without the words or the safety to say I am scared, I am overwhelmed, I am not okay. When the vocabulary doesn't exist, the body writes the sentence instead. And here is the difficult truth. That child grows up, but the coping tool doesn't retire. It simply becomes quieter, more automatic, and more deeply embedded in the nervous system's default response library. 6. The shame loop makes it worse. Here is the cruelest part of the psychology. Shame, the emotion most commonly triggered by nail biting, is also one of the most powerful triggers of nail biting. The person notices what they've done, feels embarrassed, anxiety spikes, and the hand returns. Telling someone to feel ashamed of the habit, or drawing attention to it publicly, doesn't help them stop. Psychology says it accelerates the cycle. Shame is not a cure, it is fuel. The consequence is that the more someone hates the habit, the stronger the habit gets. Self-attack and willpower are the least effective tools in the entire psychological toolkit for breaking a body-focused behavior. So what does all of this actually mean? It means nail biting is not a character flaw. It is a communication a language the nervous system developed when no other language was available. Every urge to bite is a signal of tension unspoken, of emotions unprocessed, of a mind that is working harder than anyone around it can see. Breaking the habit doesn't start with the hand. It starts with the moment just before the feeling you haven't yet named, the thought you're trying to outrun, the discomfort you've spent years escaping through your fingertips. Awareness is not the finish line. It is the door. Having a nervous system that reacts isn't rare, but learning to observe it without judgment, without war, that is. And the difference isn't willpower, or discipline, or strength. It's the ability to sit with what's uncomfortable long enough to finally hear what it's trying to say, even when every instinct in your body is telling you to bite.